Hey, everybody. It's the Plant-Based Business Hour. I'm Elysabeth Alfano. Thanks for being with me. I'm happy to be here with you. If you ever miss the Plant-Based Business Hour, you know that you can get this wherever you get your podcasts. So please go ahead and subscribe. Yes, subscribe right now. I appreciate that. And of course, if you'd like to get some back episodes, you can always go to elisabethalfano.com/PBH. I want to get into today's show. It's so exciting. As McDonald's vows to launch the McPlant, and as Burger King says, at least for the United Kingdom, that it's going to be 50% plant-based by 2030. It makes me wonder, what is the state of fast food today? That's going to be plant-based fast food, as you find out. And what is the future of fast food? Let me bring in my guests here. First, I'd like to bring in TK Pillan. It's nice to have you here.
Yeah,
you are the co-founder of Veggie Grill, and you're starting Stand-Up Burger. We're going to get into that in just a bit. I want to bring in my next guest, Zach. Help me with your last name.
Vouga. Hey, Elizabeth.
Vouga, it's great to have you here. You are the co-CEO, co-founder, and chief operating officer of Plant Power Fast Food. Primarily in California, you have 7 locations and a food truck, but you're heading to Nevada and have more restaurants coming our way. I'm so excited about that. We'll get into that, of course, as well. Bringing on my next guest. Hey, Seth Goldman. It's great to see you here again.
Good to be
back on the Plant-Based Business Hour. Oh my God. Okay, now you... executive chairman of Beyond Meat. We'll get into that.
Just chairman these days.
Chairman. You've been demoted to chairman. Sloth. Okay. And you are the president of Eat the Change Impact, which is a grant funding organization for those who are educating others on the benefits of plant-based. Thank you for that. And of course, Plant Burger, which last time I interviewed you on the Plant-Based Business Hour, I believe you had 1 location only. You now have 8, all of them at Whole Foods Market.
8th one is opening next week. So yeah, we're rolling.
I will count that as 8. And you are primarily the East Coast. So Washington, D.C., Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Maryland.
That's
good for you. And then I've got to bring on, last but certainly not least, Kim Anderson. So happy to have you with me, Kim. You are a force of nature in and of it yourself. You are the creator and co-founder of Plant City and Plant City X. We're going to get into talking about that, your relationship with Matthew Kinney, and all that you're doing in Rhode Island. Oh my gosh. Okay, so much to talk about. I'm going to just set it up for everybody, and then I'm going to really let you guys take it from here. So as I said in the opening, we have McDonald's vowing to launch McPlant. We have Burger King saying it's going to be 50% plant-based by 2030, but we also have Pizza Hut bringing in plant-based options, Dunkin' Donuts, Taco Bell, Carl's Jr. The list is long. Let me start with you, Seth. How have you seen the plant-based landscape change? I'm just going to say in the last year and a couple months during COVID.
Well, look, this pandemic is terrible in so many ways, and obviously none of us would wish for it to happen again. But I do think it forced people to reconsider a lot of things. First of all, we all had a little bit more time with ourselves and actually got to be a little more thoughtful and mindful. It also, I think, uncovered the veil about the working conditions of a lot of these meat packing facilities. And then it finally revealed, although we don't know the exact cause of the pandemic, we do know it somehow came from an imbalance of our interaction with the animal kingdom. And I think you put all of those together, it certainly makes people a little more open to this, trying plant-based foods. And while it might be wonderful for the world if everyone became vegan, I don't think we need to go all that far to make change. And so it's just getting more trial, and then people taste these products and they taste and act like, better than I think many people expect them. And so you just get more adoption. And so we've seen that at Plant Burger, but I think that's the landscape. It is a better landscape post-pandemic for I think the things we care about.
Mm-hmm. And I want to dive into that a little bit, and I'll let other people answer as well. But are you seeing post-COVID that you have a more educated consumer group? And I guess what I'll say by that is maybe not educated exactly, but more interested in knowing about their food, where it comes from, what's in it. I'll start with Seth, but then also go on to Kim.
Yeah, I do think that's what's happening. I think people are, the other thing I didn't mention is that the pandemic helped people appreciate that something could happen on the other side of the world and it can have an impact on me and the way I live. And so, vice versa, the choices we make do have impacts. And I think it has encouraged people to be more thoughtful about their decisions.
And I think a study recently came out in Vegeconomist covered it, and also Green Queen covered it, about how Gen Z and millennials are really looking to align themselves with socially conscious brands, and all of you do
Absolutely.
that here today. Kim, what is the experience you're seeing in your restaurants as you come back online after COVID? And she's hopped out. I know she's at a hotel having some internet issues. Zach, what about you as you come back online?
Yeah, I'd love to answer that. But for a moment, I'd love to just take a step back and just acknowledge and recognize the amount of experience and profundity in this room, specifically in vegan QSR. And so I was joking with a friend before I hopped on, Kim, TK, and now, Seth, guys, we're very much kindred souls. This is so exciting. And from one vegan, hopefully to you, I'm not sure what your guys' inclination is. I'm just so thankful and grateful that there are like-minded individuals spending your time, bandwidth, resources on creating and hedging for a better future. So I just wanted to say that before I kind of divulge into my answer. Seth, I think, nailed it. COVID being zoonotic by nature, I think has really, really pressed the dial for an increased adoption for vegan food. And especially in the QSR format, when sit-down restaurants were closed, we were hyper under a magnifying glass, right? So we were kind of getting it from both ends. And so it's certainly an exciting time to be a plant-based QSR concept.
And do you feel that the consumer base has shifted their attention to what's in this? Where does it come from? How's it going to affect my health?
I think more than that, it's people have a deep, innate desire to be a change agent for good. And so more so than the health concept, which I think is prevalent and it's there, people are looking for options that are sustainable and ethical. And they want to feel good about the decision that they're making. If they're a mom pulling into a shopping center with kids in the car, I love the idea of them being faced with the option. Do they want to go to the old paradigm? I like to call them the old dinosaurs, McDonald's or Burger King, or do they want to go to Veggie Grill or Plant Burger or Plant Power Fast Food? That's the kind of poeticism and story that really gets me excited.
Yeah, I love that. I'll just share a brief story. I was in, I think it's Fairview in California, and there was a Plant Power Fast Food, and I was waiting for my order, but I really had to go to the bathroom, and their bathroom wasn't open. So just naturally, I think of McDonald's as a place where I go to the bathroom. That's the only thing I would do there. So I hopped across the way, and I went to McDonald's, and I was immediately hit by an amazing wave of negativity. And I didn't even process it because I really had to go to the bathroom so quickly. But the color scheme, the lack of light, the looks from the people waiting in line. And again, I just went to the bathroom and I got out of there. Then I walked back into Plant Power Fast Food and I was like, oh my gosh, what has been lifted from me? And I didn't even process it until I had been out and through the experience. But I think you're right, Zach, that people are really looking to make better choices, have a positive impact, and kind of release that burden of, are my food choices good for me and are they good for the world? TK, maybe you can weigh in on this. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how it is for Veggie Grill coming back after COVID. And of course, you are launching now Stand Up Burger. So maybe you can tell us about that.
Sure. So yeah, pleasure to be here. And so I would echo what Seth and Zach said about, hey, people now really understand that we can't take the future of the planet for granted. And there's a lot more awareness now about food choices and how they affect our future. And so I think that's having a great impact on the plant-based movement. Just the fact that we're all on here talking about it, and it's just amazing how far it's come. We started Veggie Grill back in 2006, so it's just in the last 15 years, the progress we've made is pretty phenomenal. And so to answer your question about the pandemic, 50% of our business was in our dining room, so we certainly had to quickly pivot and cope and figure out how to move forward, and so we were able to do that. And we pivoted to takeout and delivery, and we're able to luckily have a lot of our guests support us that way because of, and so we take heart in the fact that we are an essential piece of a lot of people's lives and providing food that they really value. And it also forced us to innovate a bit, where we actually launched 2 new brands. We launched a digital brand, a purely virtual brand called Moss Veg. It's a vegan taqueria, and it's the best the plant-based world has to offer in craveable and convenient Mexican food that's available for takeout only. And we leverage our Veggie Grill kitchens And then we launched a third brand, Stand Up Burgers, which is just focused on being the vegan version of Shake Shack. Burgers and Shakes. It's a smaller, easier concept for us to scale. And when we closed a couple of our restaurants during the height of COVID, we knew we wanted a more scalable concept. We can take Veggie Grill to a decent number of places, but we certainly felt like if we had a smaller, simpler concept that we could franchise as well, that would allow us to take great plant-based food to more places. And so we're very happy now that we have a third brand that's open in 2 locations in Berkeley and Chicago. And so we're really, before COVID started, we were just Veggie Grill. Now we're a restaurant platform company operating 3 brands.
Yeah, that's amazing. And again, just like Zach was saying, really thank you to everyone for being here and the impact you have already made. If you can imagine, Veggie Grill started in 2006. It had, I think, last I counted, 34 restaurants, outlets. Now, of course, with Stand Up Burger taking a couple of those, that number will shift, but you're going forward with even more restaurants and more concepts. So everyone here is moving the needle so much for people, the planet, and animals. So grateful. Kim is back with us. And so I'd love to get your take on what's happening over there in Rhode Island and Plant City, how the COVID has impacted you and what difference you're seeing now a year later. I don't have her audio. Does anybody hear her?
I do not.
I'm on now, sorry. So like our friends, we had to do a lot of pivoting during COVID, and we really ramped up our delivery and our takeout and our curbside delivery. And what has happened now is with the sunshine in New England, everybody's coming out. And so while we've maintained that delivery and takeout business, we're getting hammered by the people who want to come out. And our sales the last 4 weeks have been more than they were pre-COVID. And our biggest challenge is actually getting employees now to handle that properly.
Yeah.
We're really struggling with that, and it's a lot more than just people getting government funds. It's moms who are staying home with kids who are on remote learning. It's parents who are taking care of elders and grandparents who are being compromised and can't come back. So that's been our biggest challenge. We actually only have 3 of the 4 restaurants in Plant City open right now. And just so you know, Plant City is the world's largest vegan restaurant and the world's first plant-based food hall. My partner's Matthew Kenny.
Yes, Matthew Kenny, who does wonderful work. So those of you in California might know, and New York might know his 00 pizza places, and in California, Makeout, which I love, and Bassina. And now he's also with Kim in Rhode Island doing these restaurants, as well as New Burger and Plant City X together. I'm wondering, and anybody can hop in here, otherwise I'll start with Zach, but feel free to answer, all of you. So we've talked about, maybe what the consumer is focused on has changed now because of COVID, but are you seeing a different type of consumer? So we all know that COVID was a tailwind for plant-based eating and for caring about the environment. So are you seeing, before maybe you had millennials and Gen Z, are you seeing older people come in, or is it the same kind of person? I'll start with Zach.
Yeah, I think I'll start with a couple news tidbits that will help kind of serve as a microcosm perhaps of the rest of my answer. Tyson just launched its vegan meat line, right? That alone is mind-blowing for any vegan who's been around for a little while. What is it? Madison Park in Manhattan just converted. This is a Michelin star restaurant. 11 Madison just converted. It's a Michelin star restaurant that just converted to an entirely meatless menu. There is something in the zeitgeist that is happening, and it's been brewing for a few years now, and it feels like it's coming to some sort of really accelerated culmination. No question. Our guest basis has transformed and grown. When I look back, Plant Power started back at the end of 2015, but I actually got my start in the vegan drive-through world many years before that at one of the world's first vegan drive-throughs, Evolution Fast Food in San Diego, which is still open today and operated by my partner, Mitch. But, back in those days, and even just a few years ago, I feel like the vegan and plant-based movement it largely comprised fringe subculture, counterculture folks, right? Maybe punk or punk related music scene, or a small sliver of the health sector, or, the hippies. Today, veganism and plant-based cuisine is for the every individual. It's for the average Joe, and you're seeing that, and it's evidenced in concepts like we all have here today, right? These are just other restaurants that are serving delicious food, crazy delicious burgers, fries, and shakes and more that just happen to be plant-based, right? There's no more stigma, or perhaps there is, but it's being destigmatized that a vegan meal has to be a drab, lifeless a plate of tofu or broccoli, right? So it's definitely been reinvented, and I don't see it going away anytime soon.
No, I actually don't think it can go away. So I think you mentioned Tyson, and of course Tyson's not the only one. Hormel and JBS just bought Vivera, and they also invested in an innovation center in Brazil. Obviously, Maple Leaf has been active for a while, having bought brands like Light Life and Field Roast. These, don't get me wrong, because I love my friends on street corners holding signs, and I'm deeply grateful for all of the work that you all do, because it's an education platform as much as it is about tasting people great food, which, oh, by the way, happens to be vegan. These companies are pushing into plant-based food because they know that they're not getting more land and they're not getting more water, but we're going from 7.6 billion people on the planet to 9.8 according to the UN. So, but you're not getting more land and you're not getting more water. So that math doesn't work. And so they're looking at
what a world we live in, right? Where a company like Tyson has to innovate a product and get with the times, a product that is actually signaling its very demise, just to stay relevant and to stay existent today. It's such a wonderful time.
Yes, and I don't want to be a downer here, but I think Tyson also just opened a new chicken plant, and it's one of their largest chicken plants. So we have our work cut out for us because meat is still on the rise. Countries like India and China, of course, increasing their meat consumption. So much to be grateful for and so much work to do. Okay, I want to hear from TK, and Seth join in as well. What do you think about the increased competition in the fast food arena of, Carl's Jr. and Pizza Hut and Dunkin' Donuts? Everyone has their plant-based options now. Is that better for business, or is that holding you back?
Well, it's great. It's great for the movement, right? Because consumers want plant-based food, and so these concepts aren't doing it because they care about the planet. They're doing it because they care about their sales, and they know that consumers want it. And so competition's good. Competition makes everybody raise their game. And our job at Veggie Grill is to give people the best the plant-based world has to offer. And if we do that, then we continue to grow our market and our sales. And as a consumer, it's great when I'm driving down the freeway and I can pull into a fast food spot and get a vegan burger. But they probably aren't going to have the mayo and the cheese and the bacon. So it's not going to be great, but it serves a purpose. And then when you want great, that's what our job at Veggie Grill is to give you.
Yeah. It's so awesome. Seth, chime in there, because so much of what we're seeing is Beyond Meat at these places, Dunkin' Donuts.
No, I agree with TK for sure. And it also, I think, helps. It certainly raises across the board everyone getting involved, but it also elevates what I think everyone on this conversation is a pure play, right? It lets us distinguish ourselves. If people are moving this way, then we're sort of, I wouldn't say the final destination, but we're like an elevated direction of where people are heading and striving. And I think obviously it is good for Beyond Meat, but I think it's good for all the companies involved here, and ultimately good for the planet and the consumers too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And we talked about it a little bit with Zach, but Kim is raising her hand, so I must go to her.
Yeah, I just want to say I agree with the guys, but the really cool thing is they're doing all the advertising for us, right? Plant burger this, plant sandwich this, all over the media. And so we don't even have to be advertising. Fine for 60 restaurants. We can't serve the whole planet. Granted, in a few years, we're going to be a lot bigger. I see like this team going really far and wide, but we need to make those options available to the majority of the population, and there's Dunkin' Donuts in every corner. So if you're for the movement, it's a good thing.
Yeah, speaking of Dunkin' Donuts, I was surprised that they now have an avocado toast. So I never thought I would see that kind of option at Dunkin' Donuts, which to me is just kind of incredible. Zach, what do you think about the competition?
There's no question that deep in the human DNA, deep in our core, competition typically serves as the greatest catalyst for motivation, for success, right? What is the driving factor? And so I certainly welcome it. There are moments where you have kind of a knee-jerk reaction where you're like, I remember a couple of years ago when I learned that Carl's Jr. and Burger King would be serving plant-based burgers, you kind of have these initial, on the surface, fears. Hey, will this stifle some of our potential? But the truth is, just as the rest of these guys in the room have already intimated, what it does is it actually puts a magnifying glass on the movement. And every time Burger King has a guest that comes in and has a great experience with the Impossible Burger for the first time, well, they've effectively just created a plant-powered customer. They've done that for us. So I think it's a wonderful thing overall, and that goes for the competition in this room as well. I think there's a great deal of symbiotic, mutual benefit that we all have from each other's shared success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'd love to hear from everybody about your plans to expand, as Kim alluded to and Zach did as well, that, the more you grow, the more it's better for the entire movement, but also your own businesses. Since you've just started Stand Up Burger, TK, maybe you can tell us, what are your plans for expansion?
Sure, yeah, we've actually started looking for new locations, and we have the benefit of having spent 15 years building a national infrastructure. So we have Veggie Grills in Boston, New York. We converted the Veggie Grills in Chicago to Stand Up. We've got Veggie Grills up and down the West Coast, Portland, Seattle, Northern Cal, Southern Cal. So, we're looking at all those markets and trying to find the next great locations for stand-ups. And then Veggie Grill has some opportunities in Boston and New York, which we just launched in 2019. So, yeah, the market's there's a big market out there, and we're here to help spread plant-based goodness.
So who's going into Atlanta and who's going into Austin? Because I thought those would have been done already, you guys. Anybody? No one's got Austin on the docket?
We're part of the reason we started Stand Up was to have a franchising concept. And so we will be looking for franchise partners in some of the markets we're not in right now. So certainly Austin and Atlanta would be great markets for us to find a franchise partner in.
Kim?
We're doing the same, Elizabeth. I'm about to sign a lease this week on our second Plant City X, and hopefully it will end up being a franchise school close to the airport for other folks who want to take on this opportunity.
In Rhode Island?
Yeah, but we're going to look at New England first and then expand.
Yeah. So very exciting. Kim, you were dropping off there for a little bit, but I'd love to hear from you if the consumer is any different now after COVID. We were talking about that a little bit before you dropped off. So, we know that they're more interested in their health and where their food is coming from. But are you seeing different kinds of consumers, like older consumers maybe, or families come in, whereas it used to be teenagers, et cetera?
No, we've always seen a very wide demographic. I worked with a marketing firm here, like who's demographic, and you've got to come and see Plant City. We have young moms, we've got students, we've got octogenarians. Everybody's in here having a great time together. There's everybody likes good food, right? And for me, nothing has changed that I can feel other than people are ravenous for food and to get out. That's what I see.
And connection and community. I certainly see that. And I love what you're doing, Kim, because you're really bringing together community, because as you say, you have the only vegan food hall in the United States. So that's really all about community and bringing people together with that sense of impact and joy, I guess I'll say. Seth, how have you seen people change at all? Because you've been with Beyond Meat now for so long. Have you seen that a different type of consumer is eating Beyond than when you
for sure.
share this?
The funny one that we just got this yesterday, Kim Kardashian posted on an Instagram story all about Beyond Meat. And so, that was not somebody who was in our community before. So it's coming from all types of different directions. You're seeing a lot of athletes, basketball, football players, talk about how it elevates their performance and decreases their inflammation. These aren't, it really defies the assumptions that we had maybe 5 years ago about who would be the people trying or promoting vegan products.
Yeah, and I think I saw an article on LinkedIn that had Beyond Meat as 22% of the alternative meat market. Could that be? That seemed extremely high.
That would be, at least for the refrigerated category, that could be right. Refrigerated grocery channel.
Okay, it was just behind Morningstar.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Wow, I hadn't realized that high, and then it had Impossible at around 9%.
The big transformation, and this to me is really exciting, and perhaps in the landscape, one of the most impressive evolutions is, grocery stores, which in general are pretty conservative and pretty staid, every major grocery chain now has a plant-based meat section in their meat section. So, 10 years ago, they all had plant-based products, but they're always in the freezer. But to have them in the meat section is transformational in terms of the audience it reaches, in terms of the frequency you get and the velocity for these products. And of course, the products, to their credit, are different. They earn the right to be in that section. But that has really been a dramatic change. And essentially it means that in the past 5 years, a new category has been created in the grocery world. And that doesn't happen that way normally.
Yeah, and I think you're just going to see that expand as it becomes not the meat counter, but the protein counter, as we know. And you're going to see vegan delis even, I think, pop up, or at least a section of the deli counter be vegan. So very exciting. And, as we talk about COVID, this is off subject really because you guys are all restaurants, although Plant Burger is in a Whole Foods market. So there's that synergy there. But I think grocery stores coming back from COVID have their own work cut out for them as they need to sort of be, I like to say on this show, sort of grocery shopping the ride. I mean, they have to bring people in and entertain them and educate them and just have them traverse through their real estate in a completely different way. And I think plant-based is going to be a big part of that.
Well, they need to, because they lost so many people who opted out, they need to demonstrate they're relevant again. And so one way to do that is by offering new products that people wouldn't necessarily expect to see in the grocery store. And we're seeing that certainly with Eat the Change as well. They want to sort of reflect a new reality, which is, we're not getting back to normal. We're getting back to something, or we're getting to some different reality. And so the stores are trying to reflect that as well.
Yeah, I love that. Whereas before, grocery stores weren't carrying, I'll say, these one-offs. Obviously, they're not, but these plant-based options because they felt there wasn't enough velocity. Now they need them so that they can look creative and different.
That's right.
And that's a beautiful circular event. Let me throw this to Zach and then to Kim and TK chime in, Seth, as well. How have you had to shift your marketing now that really flexitarian, I won't say is the norm, but is becoming the most important consumer sector? Zach?
Yeah, that's a great question. When we started Plant Power, our idea was, even though there's behind the scenes, the three founders are crazy, weird, ethical vegans that really just want to preach that message, right? We wanted to make sure that we had an inclusive environment from the get-go, to where you walk in, you don't necessarily know, or it doesn't scream from the mountaintops that we're a vegan establishment, or we have maybe some of these deeper mission motives. That's the way we've always lent ourselves. We found that it paired well with the increasing surge of more mainstream guests. But lately, interestingly enough, now that we've been around the block for a little while, we're actually kind of doubling down on being a little bit more vocal on our mission, right? Mm-hmm. And really kind of sharing. Going back to what I said earlier, how do we empower our guests to feel like they're change agents for good? And so really getting them involved, where something typical, like something objectively typical, like going out with your family for an afternoon, getting a hamburger, well, you're actually partaking in a form of activism when you're doing that. And so how can you serve that and message that in a way that really connects? And so that's the way our marketing's pivoting, not necessarily because of, your question, but it's definitely moving in an amorphous kind of way.
Mm-hmm. I love that you say this. I always talk to my clients. I have something called plant-powered consulting. I always talk to them, plant-based is no longer enough. You just can't get away with, well, generally we don't have animal products and that's enough of our marketing. So you really need to find that connection, what people are hungry for beyond the food, so that there's that emotional, long-staying relationship. And I think you're absolutely right. People want to feel that they're making a difference, because unless you live in the plant-based world, it's negative news all day long. Now, of course, if you're in the plant-based world, then it's positive news all day long. But I'm not kidding. If you turn on the news, it's a very negative place for people. And I think they're desperate to feel that they're a part of something positive. TK, you've had Veggie Grill since 2006, you've said. So I'm curious how you have shifted your marketing. And now, again, you're doing Stand-Up Burger. One of the things that Stand-Up Burger says is, don't eat like your parents, which I loved. So tell me how you're shifting how you speak with the consumer.
So I'd say Veggie Grill started with the same mission we have today: make it easy and enjoyable to eat plant-based. And so really targeting a much larger audience than just vegans, and making sure we had an overall atmosphere and message that would appeal to those people. So that is exactly the focus today as well. But as Zach said, and as you've said, those people are ready to hear new things, right? They're ready to hear vegan a lot more. In the early days, vegan was a very polarizing term and scared people away. So as much as I was proud to be a vegan personally, very early on decided when we're marketing Veggie Grill, if we want to get the largest audience, we should be careful about the term. Well, that's different today. We could use the term, we could promote it. Stand Up Burger takes it to another level where this really is about standing up for the future. And so we've really built activism into the Stand Up brand, whereas Veggie Grill serves maybe a little older audience. I mean, it's still, we have a younger audience as well, but Stand Up is really meant for people who are really taking that next step of, hey, I'm leading this movement. And whereas Veggie Grill is, has its own message for the family-friendly, more Disneyland version of vegan. And so, yeah, but the great thing is everybody's willing to hear a deeper message now.
And you're primarily with Stand Up Burger going for millennials and Gen Z, or just Gen Z, really?
No, it's both. It's both. The slight difference with Veggie Grill is Veggie Grill also is meant to be, and so we have a large segment of our guests who want to eat more on the whole food plant-based side, and so we serve that audience along with the indulgent burgers and fries. And where Stand Up, this is not about health. This is just about pure plant-based indulgence. And so
okay,
that'll be generally a younger audience.
So let's talk about health, because I get this question all the time. I'm really annoyed by it. So I'm going to get into it with you. Kim, how do you address, is this healthy? As if being plant-based has to be the bullet solution for absolutely everything, even when the food it replaces wasn't healthy. But okay, how do you handle this?
Before I get to health, I'd really love to address the last question you were going to aim to me, because I think it's really important messaging. We've served 850,000 guests since we first opened. Both of them are not plant-based. About 80% of them are not plant-based. Matthew Kenny finds the same in his. So we've been very careful to use the word plant-based. But our guests love the good news, the fact that we're 100% animal-free, 100% palm oil-free, 100% compostable packaging, 100% powered by wind, and 100% compostable. And they really like that. And every month, share the impact of those numbers from the vegan calculator, what we're actually saving in the environment. I think we're up to like 8 million pounds of carbon just from Plant City, and now Plant City X is adding about, 60,000 guests a month on top of that. People really care about that. Those are our most liked social media comments when we talk about that. Okay, so the health issue, just like ticket. We've got the healthier spectrum with our Cobb salads, and we've got the junk food, right? You've got your choice. Guess which one sells more? I don't need to tell you, but so we do make them all available, and even in our makeout counter, which is like a buildable, like a sweet green counter where you can build a grain bowl. We actually have black handles in there that are salt, oil, and sugar free, so they can build a whole food plant-based SOS bowl if they'd like to go that healthy. And we have oil-free dressings.
Wow, that's incredible. So you are giving them healthy options, but also giving them indulgent options. Have you seen people turn more towards healthy?
So even in Plant City X, we offer a range, even though it's a much smaller defined menu for the drive-through. Not really. No, people are looking for comfort food, and I don't think that's changed that much. I really don't. I don't.
Okay, well, let me see if I can share my screen, and I'm not sure that I can. If I can, I would like to bear with me, everyone, because I believe you can see this. Can you see my screen? Yes. No, you can't see my screen. Okay. Stop screen share.
I can see it.
You can see it. Okay, well, let me just read through some of these numbers. And you had some bad background noise, Seth, so I got rid of that, but I'm going to unmute you here, bring you back online. So I'm looking at, this is just a Beyond Meat burger versus a hamburger. So the newest Beyond Meat burger has 5 grams of saturated fat compared to a hamburger, which has 19 grams. There's more protein in a Beyond Meat burger. There is more salt in a Beyond Meat burger, but it's the same calories. There's no cholesterol. There's a little bit of fiber. Meat has no fiber. There's no trimethylene M oxide, which is bad for you. I get these results not just from looking at labels, but also from interviewing so many doctors. So TMAO, trimethylene N oxide, very bad for your health. No animal heme. Now, Impossible Food does have plant heme. That remains to be seen if that's going to be bad for you or not. But animal heme is not great for you. Obviously, no antibiotics, no hormones. Obviously, very good for the environment and great for animal welfare. Just an older study coming from, I'm not able to switch. Okay, I'm not able to switch, but a study that comes from the University of Michigan that was put forth by Beyond Meat is that I believe a Beyond Meat burger saves 99% more water, 93% more land,
That's
90% greenhouse gas emissions, and 40% more energy. So just to put to bed the idea that when someone walks up to Plant City X and they order a burger, it's obvious they're not ordering a carrot. I don't think anyone's fooled by this. And if you were to look at a plant-based burger versus a meat burger, it is healthier. Is it a head of lettuce? No, but it is healthier and on its way towards a healthier diet. If anyone would like to chime in on that, go ahead. But I want to put that to rest for all of my listeners.
No, just to confirm it, Beyond Meat has announced a partnership with the Stanford School of Medicine, specifically really looking at plant-based diets. And we did a swap meat study, or Stanford did a swap meat study, which we helped sponsor, which showed that people who replaced meat, plant-based meat for animal meat, showed all the indicators were positive, including, by the way, sodium. So there was no elevated sodium when they went to plant-based. So we're really encouraged by that, and we're going to be funding a lot more of that kind of research as we look ahead.
That'll be great. And please share it, because I do want to say that was comparing a regular hamburger to a Beyond Meat burger. But then, of course, you have to look at it as your day as a whole. So
Right.
If you're getting a little bit more salt with a Beyond Meat burger, well, just if you're having less salt for breakfast, let's say, because you're not doing sausage or what have you, you need to one needs to look at their entire day of calories
That's right.
and of
That's
fat
right.
and of salt. So it's a holistic perspective. Kim, I see you raising your hand diligently.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really important point for this group and the plant-based community at large that we not cannibalize each other, right? We need to all support each other's choices and not take each other down, which I've seen a little bit of that in the media. We choose to do things made by hand in store. Other people will do other things, but we together need to feed the planet non-animal foods. So we all need to support each other, whoever chooses whatever they choose. We've just got to hang in there together and not let that fracture, because there will be infighting, and I think that would be a disaster.
You're talking
I'm
about the
an
plant-based
investor.
community.
Yeah, I'm an investor in plant-based foods. I'm investing in cellular meat, plant-based meat. We're going to need all of it to make this work. Every ounce of it.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more. Does anyone want to chime in there?
Well, I'll chime in that I think what's great about where we are today versus 5 or 10 years ago is there was an argument about whether plant-based was healthier. And I'd argue it all the time. And that time has, I think, passed for most people. People know plant-based is healthier. And so it's just going to keep building. And at this point, it's just about showing people how delicious it could be, and giving people, helping people understand, hey, if you want to be ultra healthy, yeah, go whole food plant-based. If you just want to enjoy and reduce your cholesterol and your chance of a heart attack, have a Beyond Burger and you can feel great about it.
Yeah, I love what you say that now, again, so plant-based is no longer enough. It has to be whole food plant-based, or comfort food plant-based, or plant-based for the environment, or plant-based for the animals. There are so many different conversations now. It used to be it was so small that it was lumped into one conversation. And now there are many conversations taking place. And you have that opportunity, again, through marketing and communications, to connect with your consumers and meet them where they are, wherever they are. Zach, I think you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, just a few more thoughts, but very salient observations from everybody, so I echo their sentiments. I feel like the vegan movement has tried the healthy burger for many years, and I feel like it ended up on the top of the mountain with the black bean burger, right, which is a nutritious, dense powerhouse, but it just failed for so many reasons to reach reach the masses outside of the vegan community. And so when you look at things like Beyond Burger and Impossible Burger, sure, there might be a little saturated fat, a little bit more sodium. These things were by design. The real strategy is, and the real play is, how do you meet people where they're at to give them something just as delicious, just as satisfactory, something that they're used to, without having the environmental impact, without having to kill living beings, right? That's the play. And so when I look at plant power and our concept, it's very much the same. We have the spectrum from healthier to actually very healthy items like raw tacos, but our bread and butter is the burgers, fries, and shakes. That's what people want. This is the transitionary step and phase that opens up people to veganism and the idea to eat a little bit healthier and maybe more whole foods, plant-based. I don't think anybody's advocating for people to eat fast food or Beyond Burgers every day. But if you choose to eat burgers and fast food, why not choose one that's sustainable and ethical?
I couldn't agree more. Yay. I love what you're saying.
Yeah, and I'm willing to predict actually that I think over time you will see more sales of call it the more traditional veggie burger approach as well, because what will happen, and we saw this at Honest Tea, people generally were just drinking Snapple and all these sweet teas, and then we came out and we started bringing less sweet tea, and then it was a great surprise that our top seller in the natural channel was a completely unsweetened tea. And nobody would have bought that if we had come out with that as our first product. But because we helped nurse them along toward this less sweet drink, they developed the taste for the purer form of it. And I think that's what we'll see as this category continues to evolve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so as well. It's an educational process. And so first people learned about plant-based as this general umbrella, and now they're learning about the intricacies of plant-based and where they want to be on that spectrum of healthy and on that spectrum of environmental. So things like packaging are going to start coming more into people's forefronts, particularly as during COVID, so many people took takeout, and that, plays a role in and of itself. So I think it's just beautiful. You're seeing an educated consumer base, or at least a consumer base interested in being educated, which wasn't the case before. So just all good news all around. But somebody mentioned the word predictions, so I've got to get into it. Whoever wants to jump in, I'll let you do it. Where do you see cellular playing a role here in fast food in particular?
I think that there's billions of dollars going into that field. We're a part of that. We wholeheartedly believe in it, because you can't get everybody to go plant-based, and we're gonna have to provide a solution. When we have price parity, who's McDonald's gonna order from? They're gonna order from the one that has no hormones, no antibiotics, not a potential for E. coli or mad cow disease, and having Gen Z picketing at their door for being environmental devastators and preventing the next pandemic, all of it. It's going to be an easy choice when they get to price parity. So the people who are standing there saying, I'm never going to eat that, they're not going to have a choice. That's what McDonald's is going to offer. And that's what everybody else is going to offer too. We just need to get it to the point, hopefully, that we can reach price parity.
Yeah, cellular agriculture at price parity is the death of animal agriculture. It's really, you wouldn't choose it otherwise. But do you envision that in your own restaurants? Zach, what do you think? Cellular burgers, are they coming to plant power fast food?
This is an incredibly divisive topic right now in the vegan and plant-based communities. And, hopefully it gets to a point soon where it can be done without the fetal bovine serum. And, I'd have to take a long, hard look at how it's being fostered. I'm certainly not against it overall for the movement. I think it's an excellent thing. I'll tell you what really excites me. I'm sure you guys are well aware, but Perfect Day Foods is a really exciting company. They've essentially taught microflora to replicate the proteins of milk, right, and whey. And so, these things are very interesting topics to keep, at least at Plant Power, we're keeping our finger on the pulse for. And I fully predict the next 5 years, you'll see plant-based restaurants and traditional restaurants alone start to interlace their menu with some of these offerings.
Perfect Day brought me to tears when I tried that ice cream, and it is ice cream. It is nothing but pure, rich, delicious ice cream. I knew I was holding the end of animal agriculture in my hands. There is no reason that you would ever choose anything involved with animal agriculture when you have that right there. And you're exactly right. They're sort of teaching, they're giving microflora the cliff notes of what it means to grow animal protein. And then they're adding fat and sugar. I mean, what's not to love? Okay, Seth, you brought it up. What are your predictions for cellular agriculture? And is it going to be in plant burger?
Would not be. It's not plant-based. It's so I don't see it in plant burger. And I think if I look, I think I also share Kim's view that it's a movement. We need everybody. So I'm not in any way condemning this approach, but I don't see it being relevant for us. The other thing that I'm willing to predict is that within 5 years we're going to see a flipping point around plant-based meat. So right now people say, well, why do we need plant-based meat? And it's there's pros and cons of it, but within 5 years, we're going to have plant-based will have an advantage of parity or better around taste, advantage on nutrition, advantage on environmental impact, advantage on health impact, and within 5 years, they're going to have the advantage around cost. And so it almost makes meat. Then it flips the question, and they say, well, why do we need animal-based meat? What's the point? What's is it just so we can have a system of raising and slaughtering billions of sentient creatures? Because that doesn't seem like a very compelling motivation.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree. I think it's the motivation to line the pockets of those people interested in that. But otherwise, there would be no reason for the rest of us living on the planet to want that for ourselves or animals or the planet.
Yeah, so I'll jump in or add on to what Seth said is, hey, plant-based is solving a lot of problems right now and is going to keep getting better at solving those problems. Hopefully the cellular side will solve some problems that plant-based can't, whether it's, a certain cut of meat, a steak or a salmon, right? And, plant-based, is solving a lot of problems. We'll keep solving those problems even better. And hopefully the cell-based will solve some problems that plant-based can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that approach. It does take a village. And then adding to cellular agriculture, there's also fermented proteins. And so that's what we were talking about with Perfect Day, which is what they're doing with ice cream. But a lot of people are doing that with dairy and milks, and then not fermented proteins, but biomass proteins with companies like Nature's Find, where they're creating meat really from microbes. So I think people are going to have a lot of option, and that's what people like is there's this fear that their meat is being taken from them, but actually it's being replaced with so many options and so many healthier options, some not healthy. I mean, when you bring in cellular agriculture, then you lose the health benefits. So you don't have antibiotics and hormones with cellular, but you do have TMAO and animal heme, et cetera. So I think people are going to want choices, and some people are going to go for plant-based and some people are going to go for cellular, and the more the merrier, as long as it's not animal agriculture. Well, wonderful. So I will look for all of those predictions to come true from all of you, because Seth is saying 5 years. Do you guys agree with that? Really?
It all depends. But yeah, it's amazing how far we've come in 15 years. So I would not underestimate how close to a tipping point we are right now. And with all the new products and all the investment and all the consumer awareness, there's a lot going on right now.
And the Beyond Burger was only introduced 5 years ago. So just to show you how far and how quickly things have happened.
Kim? Okay.
I'm afraid to take a stand on it because I'm wrong, but I will say I agree with Seth. I think it's going to be sooner than we all think. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. The only thing that I think the equation really needs to happen in the time frame that we're talking about is more government research. And the U.S. has been dreadfully slow on this. And I always do look for the competitive markets, the public markets and private markets to do this without government support. But here, I think we really need more and more research so that we can scale faster, so we can start shifting subsidies. That's such a big part of the price parity issue, obviously. So I'm disappointed that the U.S. hasn't come on faster. Some governments around the world are starting to think about it, like Singapore. Any comments there?
That would be a big piece of the next tipping point step is government starting to support plant-based versus animal-based.
Or at the very least, government staying out of efforts, or blocking efforts to restrict what we can call our product as long as it's truthful and accurate. You don't want the government getting pushed by the lobbies to protect existing industries.
Yeah.
Yeah, which you're seeing in Europe,
Yeah.
the
Oh, in
European
the US too.
and the US too, right? Yeah. So, but as the pressure remains on governments, as consumers want more and more of this, and as we potentially run the risk of another pandemic. I mean, there's nothing saying you would only have one pandemic happen at once. You can have one pandemic right after another. You can have several pandemics going on at the same time. For example, Asian bird flu is still running rampant in China, as is African swine fever. So it's not like we're out of the woods for pandemics either, which has been a big impetus for changing consumer habits and awareness. Okay, as we wrap up kind of the end of this interview, it's been so great to have all of you. And I usually, as my guests know, I usually do a one-on-one, which is a little easier because you don't have so many voices. So it's been great to have all of you here today to hear as a collective unit where you think we're going, and also to hear how strong your businesses are coming back after COVID and the kind of ramp up plans you have. I'm going to start with Zach, and then because Zach's the youngest, I think, so this is an interesting question for him. And then I'll go around. Zach, having worked now in Plant Power Fast Food since 2015, what do you wish you knew 10 years ago that you know now?
It's a very heavy question, Elizabeth. I like it. I don't want to dodge the question or be facetious, but I guess when I look back at myself 10 years ago, I was just getting my start working on evolution fast food, Mitch Wallace's concept. And, we went through so many trials and tribulations trying to figure out a formula that worked for us, right? You got to think the infrastructure and the supply chain just wasn't there like it is today. So we were making everything from scratch daily, all the time. Every one of those struggles and obstacles has lent itself to the kind of leaders and the kind of organization that we are today. And so I'm being truthful. Even though I think I could save myself a lot of pain by going back 10 years and maybe giving myself some advice, I think that adversity was well needed to be poised and situated like we are today to really go pedal to the metal and affect the kind of change we want to see. I hope that's an okay answer.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And you are going pedal to the metal. So we talked about this in the beginning. You have 7 restaurants and a food truck, but the idea is to scale to at least 14 or 15 and enter the state of Nevada. When will we see you around the Vegas area?
Later this year. Yeah. And it is pedal to the metal for us. We do feel like we're racing against the clock, not because of any sort of competition, but just because every day is time wasted for our animal friends and our planet. So we started this company with a mission. We started this company with our why of changing the world one burger at a time, and we built a business around it. So now we have to deploy every resource, every minute of our time to make sure this happens as swiftly as possible. And that's our goal, and we're executing on that every day.
Godspeed. TK, what do you wish you knew 10 years ago? And share with us again your ramp up plan so we can go get some fabulous burgers.
All right. I would say the biggest lesson that I think I knew back then, but I totally know now from a business perspective, is building great companies is about building great teams. And we've been through a few iterations of our team here at Veggie Grill, and I think we're ready to go. We've got the team to take us to the next level, and everything you do is, as long as you learn from it, it makes you stronger. And so I think we're good to go. And next phase of Veggie Grill is continuing to bring great plant-based food across the country, now with 3 different brands hitting different categories. And there's a lot of opportunity for us on the East Coast. There's opportunities for us to take stand-up to places we're not today with franchise partners. And we're excited.
Well, I'm excited that you're in Chicago, because often Chicago is overlooked. Shame. So there is stuff going on. If it's not the coast, it's still happening in places like Chicago, Atlanta, Austin, and stuff.
From a fellow Chicagoan, also thankful to have you out there when I visit back home. Absolutely.
I did not know this about you. Wow, Zach.
Once upon a time. I'm just I have the facade of a California guy, but I'm Midwestern at heart.
I love it. Kim, okay, what do you wish you knew 10 years ago? And share with us your ramp-up plans.
No, it's a little bit different than everyone else. I actually wish I knew about plant-based diets and all of the implications of a lifestyle like that. My son brought this to us 6 years ago, asked my husband and me to watch some movies, and the next morning we were environmentalists and investing in that space, and the next morning we were vegan, and then we were off to the races. I just wish I knew this a long time ago. That would be my 10-year wish. For growing, I mean, I'm a baby compared to all these guys here. We've only been open for 20 months, and Plant City X has been open for 3. But there's a lot of white space, and I share in the urgency. I don't feel like we have a lot of time. I think we need to show the world what a sustainable and compassionate food system can look like really quickly. Because, as China's rising middle class wants to go more beef, which is happening, and they have the money to strip every forest and every aquifer to do it. So we've just got it. The pressure is on. I feel that urgency. So we're just going to keep growing if we can, and go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you for all you do. Seth, what do you wish you knew 10 years ago that you know now, and share your ramp up plan?
Yeah. So 10 years ago, I wasn't involved in this industry. I was just selling organic tea, and organic movement moved slowly, and I just felt, oh, it's such a slog. And we made progress every year, but it was always sort of, low double-digit growth. And so I think what I come to appreciate, change can happen. Change generally happens slowly until it happens quickly. And what's really neat about where we all are is it's happening quickly. And so, we are seeing triple-digit growth with this whole movement, and that's exciting, and it's transformational and really impactful. And in terms of Planet Burger, by the way, we just in April renamed ourselves from Plant Burger to Planet Burger. It's still PLNT Burger, so you can choose, you do that quickly. So for Planet Burger, we are looking to double our footprint, really over the next 12 months. And so we have 2 more stores coming on here in the Mid-Atlantic, and then we'll start to expand geographically as well.
Yeah, it's so very exciting. And from your vantage point, I'm curious, what would you like to see in the marketplace? And we can keep it to fast food or to restaurants in general. What would you like to see in the marketplace that isn't there? Or otherwise phrased, what's the biggest opportunity?
Well, look, to go beyond burgers for sure. So, I mean, burgers are great, and they are the most frequent occasion, certainly, that lend themselves well to fast food. But there's other categories, and we know Beyond Meat, as you know, is made a partnership with the Yum brands, which include concepts like KFC. And so to see us, the category expand beyond just the traditional red meat occasions, I think will bring in other consumers and participants as well.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from the rest of you as well about what kind of opportunities are out there, what you'd like to see in the market that isn't yet there.
Well, I agree with our friend here who's doing the Mexican concept. I think that's huge, and pizza, if you can do it fast, if somehow you can solve that to do it fast, I think that would be another one. There's just so much room for growth here. I wish I could do it all, but we're all like totally overwhelmed with the things that we're doing, and that there's a lot of white space there, I believe, tons.
Yeah, I think the Hispanic market is huge. I'm excited to hear TK say that that's an area that you're going into. And I'm working with a launch up brand right now that is taking on fast pizza. So the Domino's replacement. So if anybody wants to know about that, I'm working closely with that brand, and it's very exciting to see that pizza is going to, in short order, get the same kind of makeover that burgers did. So that's long overdue, I think. TK, maybe you can share if there's anything else you're thinking that there's a big opportunity.
Well, I'll first say what is amazing about where we are today versus 15 years ago is the number of products. Well, 15 years ago, we had one supplier if we had one. Usually we had to make half our stuff. We had to make our own seitan, make our own tempeh, and then Gardein came to market with their chicken. So we started using them, and that was it, right? And today there's, dozens of chicken, and they serve different needs, and deli slices, and of course beyond. And so it's amazing where we are today. If you would ask me one specific thing I'd love is a great plant-based bacon.
Yes. Okay. In the works, but definitely not at scale by any means. Zach, what's the big opportunity that people have yet to execute?
Guys, for me, it's everything. Veganize everything, right? I really want to see, I think Carl's Jr. was doing for Earth Day. They piloted a location that was all vegan or vegetarian. I want to see more of that from the big players, and I want to see it sooner. which might be counterproductive to my own company success, desires, and goals. But again, for the overall movement, it's past time. It's past due. So veganize everything. That's my hashtag for today.
I love that. And I'm going to use that.
If a 3-star Michelin restaurant can do it, so can Carl's Jr.
Yes.
Precisely. Yep.
100%. I'll say that I'd like to see more plant-based chicken. I know that every restaurant has it, but it's not what people get behind in terms of advertising. And when we talk about the kind of numbers of animals that are killed on the planet, it's chickens. And so I'd really like to see, a plant-based chicken come out in the forefront. I think Burger King is putting forth a chicken royale, but I'm looking for those advertising dollars to get behind chicken. That's my big thing. Okay, it has been an hour, and I know that you all have very busy schedules. I'm looking for one-word answers from each of you on the way out. Seth, what is your favorite go-to snack?
Oh my good. Well, now it's mushroom jerky from Eat the Change.
Yay, mushroom jerky. That's wonderful. Kim, what is your go-to snack?
Oh boy, I use potatoes. I keep them in the fridge and I put everything on them. Avocado, lemon hummus. That's my go-to snack.
So like a baked potato or like a potato chip?
The little mini potatoes. I keep a bowl of them in the fridge.
Oh, that's a great go-to snack. Zach, what's your go-to?
I put hemp hearts on everything. And so you'll find me eating from lunch to breakfast to dinner. I'm going to throw hemp hearts on everything.
I love that. That is my breakfast, actually. Raw tofu. Don't freak out, everyone. It's actually super good because tofu is a blank slate, so you can make it what you want. Raw tofu, raw oats, fruit, date syrup, and hemp seeds. And it's like 20 grams of protein, and it's rocking. It's fantastic. TK, what is your go-to snack?
I'll go with dark chocolate.
Yes. Wow. None of you said nuts. That's amazing. That's like the first interview I've ever done where no one said nuts. Okay. I want to thank all of you for being here, for all that you do. Just like Zach said in the beginning, really right here, this panel is making an enormous difference. You are part of the reason that we have the change that we have today. And I say that without any kind of over-exaggeration. I am grateful for all that you do. Thank you. Keep doing it. Let me know how I can help. I always want to be here for you as a resource. I'm so happy to have you here. I will say, everybody, if you are in Chicago or Berkeley, you have to go to Stand Up Burger. And then, of course, it is your duty to eat at all of the other 33 veggie grills around the nation. If you're in California and soon to be Nevada, get yourself to a plant-powered fast food. You can dine in, you can dine on the terrace, you can drive through. It is up to you. But I've eaten there, and I can say I've had the double cheeseburger with bacon and a shake and fries. It was a big day for me. So it was super fun and I loved it. If you are in Rhode Island, you crazy thing, you have to get to Plant City. Visit one of Kim and Matthew Kinney's restaurants there. There are 4 restaurants in the food hall, the only vegan food hall in the United States. And then, of course, she has Plant City X as well. So you can get your burgers and fries. You never have to worry about that. And Seth Goldman, it is great to have you here. Thanks for being here. If you are in Virginia or Maryland or Washington, D.C. or Pennsylvania, then you can go to PLNT Burger, and they actually have something called the Chicken and Fun Guy, which is my go-to. So when I get to the East Coast, I'm having the Chicken Fun Guy, and I'm going to tell you guys all about it. Thank you, everybody, for being with me today. I so appreciate it. You all stay put. Don't go anywhere. Everybody who's watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter, thank you for being here. If you miss any part of this, you can always go and download the podcast. Thanks for being here, everyone. You guys stay put, and I will see everybody next week.